Engineers Inspected Summary Video. Here we are in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. We have the fire escape here that is in pretty bad condition. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. That's the code. The fire escape can't have any rust in its connections. Can't have any connections that are unsafe. Can't have any obstructions that would stop people from getting to the fire escape, such as all these, I don't know what comes out of there, but you can't have all this stuff, you know, interfering with your passage. So some of these have to be moved somewhere else. Can't attach to fire escapes. A lot of wind pressure on these things, so they have to be moved and attached permanently to a building, you know, this chimney or so, but even that has to be done properly so you don't have anything wrong. Okay, first issue, paint. Must be a renovator. Have an EPA license due to lead. This fire escape is older than 1978, so it does have lead. Whoever touches this must have a renovator's license if they're going to paint it due to the lead issue. So let's walk backwards. We have structural, all original square head bolts on this fire escape. Any connection issues that they had in the past, they sent in somebody and they started welding it, but they left all the rust inside. So all these treads are suspect. All these connections are full of rust. Tread, they, instead of fixing it, they just welded it. So 100% removal of all the connections, railings, everything. Instead of swapping it out, they just welded it. So all these connections are suspect. There's extra loads on this fire escape for extra things going on here that, again, need attention. So 100% of all these treads got rust in the connections, 100%, okay? All the railings got rust in the connections. Change all these bolts, remove all the rust, seal every joint with silicone. But when you properly clean a joint, scrape it of any rust, spot prime it, caulk it, and then put a bolt in it and squeeze it. That way you can caulk and seal these bolts with 35 to 50 year silicone, okay? 100% of the treads done, 100% of the railings need to be done. Fire escape's 100%. A lot of times you can spot repair and then load test this fire escape, but not at this point. Everything sort of got welded shut. So somebody came in here, instead of fixing the bolts, removing any of the rust that was making things, you know, suspect, they just welded everything. So 100% of this fire escape has got issues. So let's keep going down all the treads again here. You've got all these rust and they just welded it over. See? Rust, they just welded it over. Not great weld either. 100% of the treads. See the weld here and the weld there. Instead of fixing it and removing the rust, they just came in here and welded it. Every one of these welds has to be cut with a disc. Then the bolts have to be cut, cleaned, spot primed, siliconed, put back together. These units were added onto the fire escape, adding more weight to this. So this needs to be configured so that it can take this extra weight. Then they put it in without properly through bolting it or epoxy bolting it into the building. Those should be at least 5/8, if not 3/4. They should be 8 to 12 inches deep into the building. Not just picking up the veneer, they have to pick up the masonry wall on the inside. So I can't say whether or not this is properly attached. Again, all welded. Instead of fixing it, they just welded it. All 100% of these treads got welded, even though they have rust on the inside. All the railings got welded. You can see here, everything got welded. All the connections down here got welded. Look at all the rust still inside. So there's a lot of work here to cut all these welds, change the bolts, 100% refurbishment to avoid the load test. So if you have spot repair, you can load test, or you can fully refurb to avoid the load test. This fire escape is or close to all the rust in the connections, as you can see. All these are rivets put in this fire escape at 75 years old plus. So we have to load test all these platforms, but as soon as we swap out these rivets and put in new bolts, there is no load test on all these platforms. You change all the tread bolts, there is no load test. But if we don't swap out these bolts here, there is a load test. Otherwise, you are forced to have anything that's 50 to 75 years old or greater has to be load tested. So, quite see another issue here. As you can see there, anything, and there's some more welds there, rivets here. So all these have to be duplicated or replaced. Some cement work And you can see that's all like 3/8 expansion bolts holding up that area of the platform. Incorrect. All right, there's cement work that's happening. There's the through bolts into the building that we need to verify inside the building, or through load testing that gets verified. Same thing here. But look, you know, there's quite a bit of rust in all the connections, and instead of fixing them, they welded them. Weld, weld, weld. All welds must be bolted. You can't, but these welds are hiding additional rust inside, so every one of these welds has to be cut. Quite a bit of work cutting away all this extra work. This fire escape is out of balance. They put a weight box in there. They put a chain over here. That is so that this fire escape is out of balance. It's balanced upwards. That means, like I'm doing myself right now, to go down this fire escape, I have to start stepping out on it. Okay? And gingerly, with no pressure from people below, I'm already out to the 3rd step coming down, and I have to stop. I'm going out to the 4th step. Still hasn't come down. I'm going out to the 5th step. So as it goes down, as you can see, I'm now at the 6th, 7th, 8th step. She still hasn't hit the ground, so she's out of balance. All these weight boxes, they put in some extra weight, so that's got to come off. They got to put a release arm on here so that when you release it, she drops down to the ground and stays down. And all this, see all that weld and the brace, that is just expansion bolts. That's not epoxy bolts into the building. So this is one of those that they were concerned by the extra weight, so they put in an extra brace. That's not what is really is needed here. A release arm will make this fire escape drop to the ground and stay down. See this, all this additional flap that they put on here? It's all rotting out. This side is all rotting out. That was sort of some extra sistering that was going on, but again, there's rust going all inside. Now all the treads have rust in it, and they just welded it. They didn't fix it. Even the foots down here, as you can see. Now, as soon as I let go of this, which I'm going to do in a second, as you can see, so anybody getting off this fire escape during an emergency, she goes right back up by herself. So I'm going to let go. As you can see, that's not what it's supposed to do. It's not supposed to go up by itself. It's supposed to be released, come down and stay down on the ground. As you can see, there was some damage here, got hit, and they got pushed back a little bit here. Cement issues here. Cement issues there. All original hardware. Again, the weight and these units that got installed here, they're not properly bolted back to the building. So there's a possibility that they could drop all that extra weight, all those computer model, not the computer, but the satellite dishes up there for cable. Could be computer also. So all this weight has to go. All these cement connections needs to be filled. You got the through bolt that needs to be verified. There's some bulging happening on the gussets. So again, any gusset that has a rivet the rivet needs to be swapped out to a bolt to avoid having to load test each one of these brackets. So this is really a 100% full refurb job, because there's too much rust in every one of these connections. Any questions, Fire Escape Engineers? 866-649-0333.